The darkness of space had never looked so terrifying. 300 massive alien warships floated silently in the void, each one bigger than entire human cities. Their hulls gleamed with deadly weapons that could turn planets into dust. This was the Vorthak Empire's war fleet, and they had come to destroy humanity. Fleet Commander Nextdull stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical screens with cold satisfaction. His red eyes scanned the data showing human colonies scattered across nearby star systems. Weak, defenseless, easy targets. "Sir, we have movement on the outer rim," his aide reported, pointing at a tiny dot on the scanner display. Nextdull barely glanced at it. The human colonies would be theirs within 3 days. Their primitive weapons could not stop the might of the Vorthak Empire. No species had ever survived their full assault. Meanwhile, floating seemingly helpless in the shadow of a dead moon, the human research vessel Harmony drifted through space. Its hull was scarred and blackened, making it look like just another piece of space junk. Emergency lights blinked weakly along its sides. Captain Lee Min-ho stood quietly on his bridge, watching the alien fleet through the view screen. His 30 crew members worked at their stations with calm precision. To any outside observer, they looked like desperate survivors of some accident, broadcasting distress calls into the empty void. "Captain, they're scanning us again," reported Kim Sora from her communications station. Her fingers moved silently across the control panel. Min-ho nodded slowly. "Good. Let them see exactly what we want them to see." The Harmony's computers were feeding false data to the alien scanners. Every reading showed a damaged civilian vessel with failing power systems and no weapons. The perfect cover for what they really were. "Sir, their main fleet is moving into attack formation," whispered Engineer Park Jimin. His voice carried no fear, only professional focus. Min-ho watched as the massive alien ships began spreading out across space like a deadly net. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level mountains. Together, they could turn entire worlds into burning wastelands. "How long until they reach the colonies?" Min-ho asked quietly. 18 hours at current speed," Sora replied. The captain's jaw tightened. 18 hours. That was all the time left for millions of innocent people living on those distant worlds. Men, women, and children who had no idea death was coming for them. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They thought humans were weak. They thought human technology was primitive. Most importantly, they thought the small research ship floating nearby was harmless. "Maintain emergency broadcast signals," Min-ho ordered. "Keep looking helpless." The Harmony continued its act, broadcasting automated distress calls that echoed uselessly through space. Just another broken ship that posed no threat to anyone. The Vorthak fleet commanders dismissed the human vessel completely. Why waste time on space junk when they had worlds to conquer? They had no idea they were being watched, studied, and measured for destruction by the very ship they ignored. In the depths of space, predator and prey had met. But the aliens were about to learn which was which. Commander Nextdull's massive form towered over the tactical display, his forearms moving across different control panels with practiced ease. The alien's scaled skin gleamed under the bridge, lights as he studied the human colonies marked in red on his screens. Each target represented millions of lives that would soon be extinguished. "Commander, what about that ship?" his tactical officer asked again, pointing at the small blip representing the human vessel. The young Vorthak officer had only recently joined the fleet and still asked too many questions. Nextdull's head turned sharply, his yellow eyes flashing with irritation. "You waste my time with debris. Our sensors show it has the power output of a broken transport shuttle. The hull is made of basic steel alloys that our ancestors used centuries ago." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Everyone knew better than to question their commander twice, but the tactical officer seemed determined to prove his worth. "Sir, our long-range scanners detected some unusual energy patterns earlier. Perhaps we should investigate." A low growl rumbled from Nextdull's throat. "Unusual patterns? You mean the random electromagnetic noise that comes from failing power systems? That pathetic human ship is probably leaking radiation from a cracked reactor core." He gestured dismissively with one of his clawed hands. "Look at it properly. Officer, no weapon signatures, no shield generators, No military-grade armor plating, it's nothing but civilian scrap floating in space, probably abandoned by its crew days ago. The commander turned back to his strategic planning. We have real targets to destroy. Human military bases, defense platforms, warships that might actually pose a threat to our glorious fleet. Why would I waste precious time and resources on a broken research vessel? Meanwhile, deep inside the human ship Harmony, Engineer Park Jimin sat at his hidden console, watching the alien scans wash over their vessel like harmless waves. A small smile played across his face as he monitored the false readings they were feeding to the enemy sensors. "They're scanning us again," he whispered to his teammate. "Same result every time. Power output showing at 12%. Hull composition reading as basic carbon steel. Life support systems failing." The truth was very different. Hidden beneath layers of advanced camouflage technology, the Harmony's real systems operated in complete silence. Quantum processors hummed with enough computing power to run entire cities. Dimensional fold generators waited in standby mode, ready to bend space and time itself. Weapons systems that existed beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen lay dormant, invisible to every known scanning method. Perfect, Jimin thought to himself. They see exactly what we want them to see. The alien commander's arrogance was humanity's greatest advantage. Nexstar looked at the human ship and saw weakness where incredible strength lay hidden. He saw primitive technology where revolutionary science waited to be unleashed. Most importantly, he saw no threat where the greatest danger his empire had ever faced drifted silently through space. The Vorthak Empire had built its reputation on crushing smaller civilizations through overwhelming force. They had never encountered an enemy that fought with deception rather than direct confrontation. They had never faced humans before. As the alien fleet continued its advance toward the defenseless colonies, the harmless research ship continued its act, broadcasting weak distress signals while preparing to change the course of galactic history forever. The bridge of the Harmony fell completely silent as Captain Lee Min-ho stared at the small screen, displaying the encrypted message. Those 3 words had taken months of planning and years of preparation to reach this moment. Earth's greatest military minds had debated whether humanity was ready to reveal its true power to the galaxy. Phoenix Protocol authorized. Min-ho's hands trembled slightly as he read the words again. This wasn't just permission to defend the colonies. This was authorization to show the universe that humans were no longer the weak species everyone believed them to be. "Sora, confirm the message authenticity," he said quietly. "Kim." Sora's fingers danced across her control panel, running the transmission through multiple security checks. "Confirmed, Captain. Command codes verified." The message came directly from Earth Defense Command, through quantum encryption channels. Around the bridge, 30 crew members sat at their stations with focused determination. They had trained for this moment for over 3 years, running countless simulations and practice drills. But now it was real. Now millions of lives depended on their success. "All departments report status," Min-ho commanded. "Engineering systems optimal," replied Park Jimin from his station. "Quantum fold generators showing full power. All safety protocols are active." "Weapons systems armed and ready," reported the tactical officer. "Navigation computers locked on." "Target coordinates," added the helmsman. Min-ho nodded slowly. For 2 long years, the Harmony had maintained its position near this exact spot in space. To the outside universe, they appeared to be conducting routine scientific research on nearby stellar phenomena, the perfect cover story for their real mission. But during those 2 years, Park Jimin's advanced scanning equipment had been working around the clock. Hidden sensors that operated beyond known detection methods had studied every single ship in the approaching Vorthak fleet. They had mapped hull compositions, analyzed shield generators, identified weapon systems, and catalogued structural weak points. Every piece of data had been carefully recorded and analyzed by Earth's most powerful quantum computers. The aliens thought they were invisible and invincible, but humans had been watching their every move for months. "Sir, the enemy fleet is accelerating toward the colonies," Sora reported. "They'll reach the outer settlements in 16 hours. Min-ho closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about the families living on those distant worlds, children playing in their yards, parents working in their gardens, elderly grandparents telling stories by evening fires. None of them knew that. Death was racing toward them through the darkness of space. "Not if we can help it," he whispered. The captain stood up from his command chair and looked around at his crew. These weren't just soldiers following orders. They were Earth's finest scientists, engineers, and tactical experts. Each one had volunteered for a mission they might not survive. "Ladies and gentlemen," Minho said formally, "today we stop pretending to be helpless. Today we show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." He took a deep breath and gave the order that would change everything. "Begin phase transition. Activate the Phoenix Protocol." The Harmony's true power awakened from its long sleep. Ready to defend humanity and shock the universe. The moment Captain Lee Minho gave the command, reality itself seemed to bend around the Harmony. The ship's hull began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement on a summer day. Then, in the blink of an eye, the entire vessel simply disappeared from existence. 1 second it was there, broadcasting its fake distress signals. Next second, there was nothing but empty space where the human ship had been floating. On the bridge of the Vorthak flagship, alarms suddenly started blaring throughout the command center. Officers scrambled to their stations, checking and rechecking their sensor readings with growing confusion. "Sir, the human vessel has vanished from all scanners," reported the tactical officer, his voice filled with disbelief. Commander Nexdal's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Vanished? Ships don't just vanish. Check your equipment. Run a full diagnostic on all sensor arrays." But the diagnostics came back clean. Every piece of scanning equipment was working perfectly. The space where the human research ship had been, floating now showed absolutely nothing. Not even the smallest piece of debris remained. "Could they have activated some kind of cloaking device?" asked another officer. Nexdal shook his massive head. "Impossible. Our sensors can detect any known cloaking technology in the galaxy. Besides, humans don't possess advanced stealth capabilities." What the alien commander didn't understand was that the Harmony hadn't used cloaking technology at all. The ship had done something far more incredible and terrifying. It had stepped completely outside of normal space and time. Inside the Harmony, the crew experienced something no other beings in the galaxy had ever felt. The ship existed in a strange realm, between dimensions, where the normal rules of physics no longer applied. Through the view screens, they could see swirling colors that had no names and geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Chief Science Officer Yoon Da-un watched her instruments with intense concentration. Her fingers moved constantly across control panels, making tiny adjustments to keep the ship stable in this impossible place. "Phase variance holding steady at optimal levels," she reported calmly, though sweat beaded on her forehead from the mental strain. "We're maintaining dimensional cohesion within acceptable parameters." This technology had taken humanity over 50 years to develop. Earth's greatest scientists had worked in secret, building on theoretical physics that other alien species had studied and then abandoned as worthless fantasy. While the rest of the galaxy focused on bigger weapons and stronger shields, humans had quietly unlocked the secrets of dimensional travel. "All systems showing green," reported Park Jimin from his engineering station. "Quantum fold generators, operating at full efficiency. We can maintain this phase state for approximately 12 minutes before we risk permanent displacement." 12 minutes was more than enough time for what they needed to do. Captain Minho studied the tactical display, showing the positions of every enemy ship. Even though the Harmony existed outside normal space, their advanced sensors could still track the Vorthak fleet with perfect accuracy. "Begin materialization sequence," he ordered. Target coordinates locked and confirmed. The Harmony started to phase back into normal reality, but not where the aliens expected. The ship began appearing directly inside the enemy formation, sliding between the massive alien vessels like a ghost passing through walls. The impossible had become reality, and the Vorthak Empire was about to learn that humans had been hiding. Far more than anyone could have imagined. The Harmony materialized like a phantom in the heart of the Vorthak war fleet. One moment there was empty space between the massive alien battleships, and the next moment a human vessel appeared as if stepping out of thin air. The enemy crews had no time to react, no time to sound alarms, no time even to understand what they were seeing. Kim So-ra's hands moved with deadly precision across her weapons console. She had trained for this exact moment thousands of times in simulation, but now it was real. Now the lives of millions of innocent colonists depended on her accuracy and speed. "Firing sequence initiated," she announced, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The quantum torpedoes launched from hidden ports along the Harmony's hull. To the naked eye, they looked like small silver spheres, each no bigger than a basketball. But these weren't ordinary weapons. They represented decades of human scientific achievement and the most advanced physics theories ever put into practice. Each torpedo had been specifically programmed during the 2 years of secret observation. Park Ji-min's scanners had analyzed the exact molecular structure of Vorthak ship hulls, studying how their alien metals were arranged at the atomic level. Every enemy vessel had a unique frequency signature, like a fingerprint made of quantum particles. Target acquisition confirmed. "On all 18 primary vessels," So-ra reported. "Torpedoes are tracking perfectly." The weapons moved through space at incredible speed, but their real power wasn't in velocity. As they approached the enemy ships, something remarkable happened. The torpedoes began to phase shift, matching the exact molecular frequency of their individual targets. Vorthak shield generators hummed with enough power to deflect meteor strikes and energy blasts that could level cities. But the quantum torpedoes passed through these defenses as if they were made of air. The shields couldn't stop weapons that existed on a different quantum level than normal matter. The thick armor plating that protected each alien battleship might as well have been tissue paper. The torpedoes slipped through layers of hardened metal without leaving so much as a scratch on the surface. They traveled through corridors, past surprised alien crew members, heading directly for their programmed destinations. "Torpedoes reaching critical systems now," So-ra announced. Inside the enemy ships, the quantum weapons suddenly solidified back into normal matter, but they materialized inside the most vital areas of each vessel. Some appeared directly inside nuclear reactors, others materialized within command centers, where alien officers stood frozen in shock. Several torpedoes solidified inside life support systems that kept thousands of crew members alive. Chief Science Officer Yoon Da-yoon watched her sensor readings with a mixture of scientific fascination and grim satisfaction. "The molecular disruption is proceeding exactly as our models predicted," she reported quietly. "The torpedoes weren't designed to explode like conventional weapons. Instead, they used quantum field manipulation to break down the atomic bonds that held matter together. Metal became individual atoms. Complex machinery dissolved into its basic elements. In seconds, the most critical systems aboard each targeted ship simply ceased to exist. All 18 torpedoes have reached their targets," So-ra confirmed. "Molecular disruption fields are active and spreading." The Vorthak Empire had conquered dozens of worlds using brute force and overwhelming firepower. They had never faced an enemy that could strike with such precision and impossible technology. Their mighty war fleet was about to learn that humans fought wars very differently than anyone else in the galaxy. What happened next defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The quantum torpedoes completed their work in exactly 18 seconds, and in those 18 seconds, the course of galactic history changed forever. The first Vorthak dreadnought simply began to shimmer. The massive warship, larger than most cities and armed with enough firepower to crack planets, started to lose its solid form. The hull plating became translucent, then transparent, then dissolved into billions of sparkling particles that drifted away like glitter in the cosmic wind. One by one, 47 of the mightiest warships ever built by the Vorthak Empire followed the same fate. These weren't explosions that any species had ever witnessed before. There were no balls of fire, no chunks of twisted metal flying through space, no debris fields that rescue teams could search through later. The ships were simply ceasing to exist at the most fundamental level possible. Commander Nexdal stood frozen on his flagship's bridge, watching his entire fleet dissolve before his eyes. His forearms hung limply at his sides as ship after ship transformed into clouds of cosmic dust. Each vessel represented decades of construction thousands of crew members, and the military might that had conquered 17 different star systems. "Sir, the destroyer Vexicon is gone," reported his tactical officer, his voice shaking with terror. "So is the battle cruiser Mordal, and the heavy cruiser Zarveth. They're all just gone." The flagship's artificial intelligence systems were going haywire, trying to process sensor data that made no logical sense. Warning lights flashed red across every control panel as the ship's computers attempted to understand how matter could simply stop being matter. "This is impossible," Nextal whispered, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. "No species in the galaxy possesses technology that can do this. Not the ancient precursors, not the energy beings of the Void Realm. No one." But the evidence was floating all around him. Where his mighty war fleet had been moments before, there was now only empty space filled with glittering clouds of atoms that had once been starships, weapons, and thousands of his finest warriors. The remaining ships in his fleet began to panic. Captains who had never retreated from any battle in their entire careers suddenly broke formation and fled in every direction. Emergency broadcasts flooded all communication channels as terrified commanders tried to warn their homeworlds about what they had witnessed. "Unknown human weapon has destroyed our entire attack fleet," one captain transmitted frantically. "Repeat, the humans possess some kind of matter dissolution technology. Our ships are being converted to atomic particles. Request immediate reinforcements and scientific analysis teams." Another commander's voice crackled through the static. "Fleet Command, this is Captain Morkes of the heavy cruiser Talvorth. The human research ship has somehow eliminated 47 of our vessels in under 20 seconds. I've never seen anything like it. The ships didn't explode, they just stopped existing." Nextal's flagship lurched as its systems failed one by one. His ship hadn't been targeted by the quantum torpedoes, but the electromagnetic interference from watching so much matter dissolve simultaneously had overloaded every piece of electronic equipment on board. "Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining vessels," his communications officer reported. "Half the fleet is requesting permission to retreat immediately." The proud commander of the Vorthak Empire's most powerful war fleet looked out at the sparkling clouds that had once been his ships and felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Absolute, crushing defeat at the hands of a species he had dismissed as primitive and harmless. The humans had just rewritten the rules of warfare, and the galaxy would never be the same. The communication screen flickered to life on the bridge of the Harmony, showing the interior of the Vorthak flagship. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows across damaged control panels, and the acrid smell of burned electronics seemed to drift through the transmission itself. Commander Nexdal appeared on screen, and the change in him was shocking. The proud military leader, who had confidently planned to conquer human colonies, now looked like a broken man. His scaled skin had turned pale grey, and his 4 hands trembled as he gripped his command chair for support. Captain Lee Minho sat calmly in his captain's chair, his uniform crisp and his expression completely composed. The contrast between the two commanders couldn't have been more dramatic. One represented an empire built on fear and conquest. The other represented a species that had just proven they were far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. "Commander." "Nexidal," Minho began, his voice carrying across the void between their ships with quiet authority. "I am Captain Lee Minho of the Earth Defense Force vessel Harmony. I believe we need to have a conversation." The alien commander's mouth opened and closed several times before he could form words. Your ship? How did you... What kind of weapons?" "Let me save you some time," Minho interrupted gently. "Your invasion fleet no longer exists. 47 of your most powerful warships have been reduced to their basic atomic components. Your remaining vessels are fleeing in panic, and your military communications are filled with warnings about human capabilities." Nextal's eyes darted to his tactical displays, which showed nothing but empty space where his mighty fleet had been moments before. "This is impossible. No species in the galaxy possesses such technology." "You're wrong about that," Minho replied calmly. "But more importantly, you're wrong about something else. You assumed humans were weak because we didn't immediately respond. To your threats with overwhelming force, you mistook our patience for helplessness. Engineer Park Jimin stepped into view of the camera, his young face serious but not hostile. Commander, your empire has built its reputation on conquest through superior firepower. You find a weaker species, overwhelm them with massive fleets, and force them to surrender or face extinction. The alien commander nodded slowly, still trying. Had to process what had happened to his fleet. Humans approach conflict differently, Park continued. We don't seek to build empires or conquer other worlds. We want to explore the universe, learn from other species, and live in peace. But when someone threatens our families and our way of life, we respond with superior science instead of superior numbers. Minho leaned forward slightly. We've been watching your empire's expansion for over 30 years, Commander. Every time you conquered a new system, we studied your tactics, your technology, and your weaknesses. While you were building bigger ships and more powerful weapons, we were developing countermeasures specifically designed to stop species like yours, the Deju. Truth was beginning to dawn on Nextal. You've been planning this for decades. We've been preparing to defend ourselves, Minho corrected. There's a difference. We hoped we would never need to use these capabilities, but your empire made that choice for us when you decided to invade human space. The captain stood up from his chair, his expression becoming more serious. This war is over before it truly began, Commander. Your fleet is gone. Your invasion has failed. Now you have a choice to make. Nextal waited, knowing his next decision would determine the fate of his entire empire. Withdraw all Vorthak forces from human space immediately and permanently, Minho commanded. Never return. Never threaten human colonies again. Spread the word to every corner of your empire that humans are not the easy target you thought we were. The destruction of the Vorthak fleet sent shockwaves through the galaxy faster than any starship could travel. Within 3 hours of the battle, subspace communication networks were buzzing with panicked messages, urgent diplomatic cables, and frantic military reports from dozens of different species. Kim Sora sat at her communication station aboard the Harmony, monitoring the flood of transmissions with growing amazement. Her screens displayed message after message from alien governments, military commanders, and intelligence agencies, all desperately trying to understand what had happened to one of the galaxy's most feared war fleets. "Captain, you need to hear this," she called out, routing an intercepted transmission to the main speakers. The voice of a Zephyrian military commander crackled through the bridge audio system. "High Command, this is Admiral Kevthara of the 3rd. Strike Fleet. I'm ordering an immediate halt to Operation Storm Harvest. Yes, sir, I know we've been planning to attack the human mining colonies for 6 months, but that was before we learned what humans are actually capable of." Captain Minho raised an eyebrow. "The Zephyrians were planning to attack our colonies?" "Apparently so," Sora replied, bringing up another transmission. "But not anymore. Listen to this." Another alien voice filled the bridge, this one speaking in the crystalline tones of the Christek Collective. "Emergency diplomatic protocol activated. We must establish immediate contact with human authorities. Request urgent peace negotiations. Repeat. The Christek Collective formally requests emergency diplomatic talks with Earth representatives." Park Jimin looked up from his engineering station. "The Christek Collective? Didn't they declare humans a negligible spacefaring species just last year?" "That was before they learned we could make entire fleets disappear," Minho replied dryly. The messages kept coming. Sora's fingers flew across her console as she categorized and prioritized the incoming communications. "Sir, I'm counting transmissions from 43 different species so far. Most of them are military stand-down orders or requests for diplomatic contact." She highlighted several messages on her screen. "The Corvani Empire just ordered all their ships to maintain a minimum distance of 10 light-years from any human territory. The Nexus Syndicate is recalling their entire border patrol fleet, and the Hegemony of Worlds just issued a formal apology over any previous misunderstandings with Earth. The most significant change came from the Galactic Council itself. This ancient organization had governed interstellar relations for over 2,000 years, and they had always treated humanity as a minor player barely worth acknowledging. Human ambassadors were given the smallest offices, the shortest speaking times, and the least important committee assignments. "Captain, "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council chambers," Sora announced, her voice filled with barely contained amusement. The ornate seal of the Galactic Council appeared on the main view screen, followed by the image of Council Speaker Veltaran, a dignified alien whose species had helped found the organization centuries ago. "Captain Lee Min-ho of Earth," the speaker began formally, "the Galactic Council extends its greetings and requests your immediate presence at an emergency assembly session. Your species' recent demonstration has necessitated urgent discussions regarding humanity's status within the galactic community." Min-ho almost smiled. "Our status? 3 days ago they classified us as a minor technological species with limited expansion potential." "Things change quickly in politics," Sora observed, pulling up more incoming messages. "Sir, I'm now showing formal declarations from 18 different species stating that human space is officially off-limits to their military forces. Several others are requesting permission to establish trade agreements." The captain looked around his bridge at the crew, who had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. "Monitor all communications and prepare detailed reports for Earth. Command, I have a feeling our quiet days of scientific research are over." Through the view screen, the glittering clouds of atomic particles that had once been the HFY War fleet continued to drift through space, a permanent reminder that humans were no longer the helpless species everyone had assumed them to be. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the HFY War fleet, and the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. The Galactic Assembly Chamber, a massive dome that could hold representatives from over 300 different species, had never been more packed. Every seat was filled, and additional delegates crowded the standing areas, all waiting to hear from the human who had changed everything. Captain Lee Min-ho walked slowly to the central speaking platform, his footsteps echoing in the hushed chamber. The Harmony, now officially designated as humanity's flagship, hung in orbit above the Council world, a visible reminder of what humans were capable of when pushed too far. The captain looked out at the sea of alien faces, each representing civilizations that spanned thousands of years and dozens of star systems. Many of these same delegates had once dismissed humanity as a minor species barely worth acknowledging. Now they hung on his every word. "Honored representatives," Min-ho began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced sound system. "6 months ago, your governments viewed humanity as a primitive species, struggling to establish a few small colonies on the edge of civilized space." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, remembering their previous attitudes toward Earth's representatives. "That perception served our purposes well," Min-ho continued. "While you focused on building larger fleets and more powerful weapons, we focused on understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. While you conquered worlds through force, we conquered the laws of physics through science." Chief Science Officer Yoon Da-yoon joined him on the platform, carrying a datapad containing information that would revolutionize galactic understanding of advanced physics. Her research represented decades of human scientific achievement that had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy. "Dr. Yoon will now explain the science behind our defensive capabilities," Min-ho announced. Da-yoon stepped forward, her calm demeanor hiding the significance of what she was about to reveal. "The technology you witnessed 6 months ago is based on dimensional fold theory, a branch of physics that most species abandoned over a century ago as impossible to implement." She activated a holographic display showing complex mathematical equations that floated in the air above the platform. "Your scientists studied these theories and concluded they were nothing more than interesting academic exercises. Human scientists spent 200 years proving them wrong." The audience leaned forward, trying to understand formulas that challenged everything they thought they knew about space, time, and matter itself. "The quantum torpedoes that eliminated the HFY fleet operate by shifting matter between dimensional phases," Da-yoon explained. "They don't destroy their targets in any conventional sense. Instead, they convince the universe that those targets never existed in the first place." A crystalline delegate raised a crystalline appendage. "Are you saying humans can rewrite the laws of physics?" "We don't rewrite them," Da-Un replied. We simply understand them better than anyone else has bothered to try. Minho stepped forward again. This brings us to humanity's position going forward. We don't seek to build an empire like so many species before us. We don't want to conquer your worlds or force you to accept our beliefs or our government. The chamber remained completely silent. We want exactly what we've always wanted, he continued, to explore the universe, to learn from other cultures, to push the boundaries of science and knowledge, and to raise our families in peace. His expression became more serious. But we also want to make something absolutely clear to every government represented in this chamber. We prepare for those who won't respect our choice to live peacefully. The message was unmistakable. Humanity had chosen when to reveal their true capabilities, and they had chosen to end a war before millions of innocent people could die. The age of underestimating humans was officially over,